Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back again for another show. We're going to be talking all things transfers for a late night roundup tonight. Um, I've got to say it, guys. It is incredibly refreshing to see Arsenal doing business early. Incredibly refreshing. Whether you think the deals are the best, whether you think we've overpaid for Rice, whether you think Havertz is the guy, whether you think Timber is not really going to be suited to the Premier League, whatever your thoughts are, I happen to think that there's a lot of positives in it. But more importantly than ever, anything else, we're doing it early. Now, Arsenal have been known for the last few to be very lastminute.com, leaving things till last few days of the window. We might put a bid in. And I've seen a lot of mucking around in the last few years, but I have to say, I'm so impressed by what I've seen so far in terms of how we are trying to get deals done. Now, I understand that Declan Rice is not officially signed, but it's been accepted and agreed. That will happen very, very soon. There's news today that Timber is probably the next one to come through the door at Arsenal after, of course, the signing of Kai Havertz. Now, let's talk a little bit about Rice and Timber at Arsenal before we move on to Timber, to Havertz. Sorry, I think Rice is a statement signing. I think it's an unbelievable signing for the Arsenal, and I do think that when he does come, we will see why Arsenal fans are so excited to see him in an Arsenal shirt. I think he brings qualities off the pitch as well in terms of his leadership. I think he on the pitch can play in a couple of positions. I don't really see a weakness in his game, if I'm honest, but he, like everyone, is going to need time to settle. Now, I do think that we're all expecting him to come walks into the team, and I think he will do that. But when I look at players like him, people talking about overpayments, yeah, probably. Pants pulled down. Maybe we had to have a pants pulled down if we were going to get the player. I think West Ham have played it well. They wanted to get a hell of a lot of money for him. And here he is. He's going to be at the Arsenal. And I think that there's going to be a lot of changes in midfield. From what I hear, Xhaka and Partey could be out the door. El Neni and Jorginho look set to stay, which means we're still short. Even with Declan Rice, we're going to need to go and buy some more players. Now, Lavies mentioned, Caicedo's mentioned. I even saw today Tchouaméni is mentioned from Real Madrid. I don't really see that one. I think with Real Madrid, Bellingham has come in, but he doesn't really play in the holding midfield role. They've got Modric and Cruz. They're late 30s, but they don't really sit and play in the Tchouaméni role, really. I mean, they can do it, and they have done it. Obviously, Camavinga's there as well. But Tchouaméni, I don't know, man. I just don't see it happening. I'd like it to happen. He's 23 years old. He plays in the first team for France. He's a good holding midfield player. He's got physical presence, attributes that I believe are good for that sort of position. But I'm not so sure that that's going to happen. Now, what I will say is that we are going to need another midfielder at least. It might even need two if Xhaka and Partey both go, because we already needed a midfielder as it was last season. So if Xhaka and Partey go and Rice was to get a 3-game ban from a suspension, or if he was to pick up a hamstring injury, then we've got El Neni and Jorginho in the double pivot, and I don't like that. So we're going to need to buy somebody. Now, Lavia has been linked for a while, guys. Lavia has been linked for a while, but we need to sort out our midfield surgery. Caicedo, it worries me why no one's gone in for Caicedo. I can only feel personally that he's going to Chelsea, because Chelsea can't bid until, is it 1st of July? Which is why conveniently they've got rid of Kovacic, Mount and Havertz within the last few days, because now they can go and do what they need to do. They needed to sell before they bought. So now they're going to go crazy. I expect Caicedo to be putting in. I expect him to go in for Osimhen. I expect him to go in for anyone you think of. I expect him to go in for. Wouldn't surprise if they go in straight away for Lavia and Caicedo, if I'm honest, Chelsea. It's going to be that mad, I think, that they're going to spend money. It really is going to be crazy. So we have to see what happens there. But listen, Arsenal are a team at the moment that are doing business really, really early. And I feel personally like it's refreshing. Now, the next one through the door, we believe, is going to be Jurriën Timber. Now, I'm not going to claim to be an expert in Dutch football, but what I can tell you is the attributes this guy holds is just what's needed at the Arsenal in terms of position, in terms of on the ball, and the fact that he can play the inverted role and the number 6, as well as right back and right centre back. We believe the fee is to be around 42, rising to 48 million. Again, no small change. But I think it's sorted our defence out. And I'll tell you why. If we have any problems at defence, we can cover it now. If Zinchenko gets injured, we've got Tierney. If Tierney gets injured and Zinchenko's still not about, Tomiyasu can play there. At right back, we've now got Yuri and Timber that can play there, and Ben White and Tomiyasu. We've got Yuri and Timber that can play at right centre back if Saliba's not there, which is a massive upgrade on Rob Holding. And we've still got Gabriel at left centre back and Kivior coming in at left centre back if he's not there. Our defence is done if Yuri and Timber comes in for me, because we needed a right back or a right centre back or one that can play in both. And he has got one that can play in both, as well as Tomiyasu and Ben White. So now we're covered. This is brilliant. Yeah. So now we move forward. It looks like we've got our two goalkeepers. It looks like we've got our defence sorted. We move forward to the surgery midfield I've just spoken about. And then we work out what we do with the top. Now, for me, Havertz coming into this side, we'll come into it a bit later, but I think he's going to be playing in the attacking 8. I think he's going to be, from what Arteta said in his press conference, this guy's going to help us in our midfield. That, for me, says he's going to be playing in the attacking 8. We'll come back to that in a minute. As far as Arsenal are concerned, I feel we might need another centre forward, and I'll tell you why. I made the example earlier on Lee Judge's channel when I said, listen, we get to a semi-final of an FA Cup or a Champions League, let's hope, and Gabriel Jesus gets a knock. We've got to play Real Madrid in a semi-final of a Champions League with Eddie or Balogun up top or Trossard up top. It ain't as good as having a Vlahovic or somebody there. Even an Ivan Toney, who we could go for. Maybe we throw Eddie Nketiah their way and say, you can have him now. We'll give you £30 million plus Eddie, and Toney comes to us in January. Maybe that's a bad deal. I don't know. I think it would be a good deal. I'd rather have Ivan Toney up there than Eddie Nketiah. That's all I'm saying. So I think the centre forward would be a position. People talk about the right wing. Yeah, I think we could probably, a little bit like the right back and right centre back, we could probably get one or the other, because Jesus can go wide, right? But I would rather go and get a centre forward if you were to ask me out of the two, if we could only get one. That's where I'm looking at. So I think we're covered in a lot of positions at the back, and obviously we've got our two goalkeepers. We're covered in a lot of positions, but we may be short wide right and up top. And I still think we're short in central midfield. That means we probably need 3, maybe 4 tops, more players tops. And that's on top of Timber, Havertz, and Declan Rice that's also come in. That's where I see it. Now let's talk about some of the other players that have come in. This is going to be a short one tonight for one reason and one reason only. I want to talk about the 3 players that have come in: Havertz, Mount, and, of course, Madison. Now, I want to ask who's got the best deal here, because I honestly believe out of the 3, on paper, is different to the 3 I've seen in the last couple of years. Because if you're talking 3 years ago, I would have gone Havertz is the most exciting. 17 goals in the Bundesliga. Everyone's talking about him. He's going to cost rising up to 90 million for whoever gets him. Chelsea get him, and I thought, wow, this is a great signing. And I started to watch him, and I thought, he's taking a bit longer than I thought to get settled in. And then it turned to, where does he actually play? Then it turned to, is him or Werner actually any good? And then it got to a real serious concern of, actually, I'm not too sure I rate this guy. And then Arsenal sign him. Boom. Bish, bash, bosh, 65 million. We'll have him, please. And people talk about Havertz playing in other positions. He can play false 9. He can play centre forward. He can play on the wing, on the right or left. He can play attacking 8. He can play number 10. I've seen him play in those positions. Can he hold any of them down? Not yet. He hasn't. Not for me. So that's why I have my concerns about Kai Havertz. Now I'll move on to Mason Mount. I'm not a huge lover of Mason Mount. And I'll tell you why I'm not a huge lover of Mason Mount, because he's a player that runs around, works hard, and provides a real high press. But other than that, I don't see an amazing amount of goal contributions. I don't really see a player that has an awful lot of attributes other than works hard, gives 110%, and runs around a lot. But saying that, I would have actually taken Mason Mount over Havertz for the pure fact that I think what Arteta would need more and would suit him more is the higher press and the intensity and the work rate and the fact he'll give 110%. And the fact, this is 5 now, that he's Declan Rice's best mate and we've just signed him. So that one made more sense to me. So for the price of Havertz and Mount, Chelsea must be laughing. They've been given £125 million for Havertz and Mount. Got to be one of the best selling clubs in the world, aren't they, Chelsea? How do they do it? Unbelievable. Then we go on to James Maddison, a player you all know I love. a player you all know I think he's going to be an absolute superb signing for Tottenham. A great, great talent, 25 years old, English, can play in a number of positions, wide or through the middle. And I think not only does he work hard and look like he knows what he's doing, he's actually got some unbelievable technical ability, and his goal and assists contributions are just there. I think last season, not the one just gone, the one before, 18 goals, 12 assists or something crazy like that. Absolutely mental, like absolutely ridiculously good. But there's potential for there to be some mentality problems. And I'll tell you why, because I never saw this until it was mentioned by doing this channel with a Leicester fan. You all know Ash, Locks, who comes on here as well. And they said, yeah, his head went down towards the end. He was devastated against, I think it was Everton, was it? Or was it West Ham, they last game of the season? I can't remember. He was absolutely gutted. But it weren't really a massive, I'm too bothered. Him and Tielemans towards the end, they were really professional, but they were kind of like, we're out of here. We're not too fussed. Maybe there's a mentality problem there. What is quite funny is he's gone to Spurs and he's had to delete all of his tweets from when he was a kid because he was slagging them off, which I think is absolutely brilliant and hilarious. So we'll have to see what happens there. I think James Maddison will be a good signing for Tottenham. I don't think they've had a creative midfielder since Christian Eriksen. I do think that he's going to come into that side and provide some goals and assist contributions for the likes of Son, Kulusevski and Kane. Not Richarlison because he doesn't seem to like to score. But I do think James Madison, along with Bentancur and Bissouma, will probably be the three in midfield. It does make me laugh, actually, because people talk about Tottenham's more formation. They're going to have to change their formation. They're going to have to go four at the back. They're going to have to go with three in midfield and three up top. We all know Kulusevski, Son and Kane will be the front three. Richarlison will come in. They also are going to have now Madison, Bentancur and Bissouma. And it'll be interesting to see whether they play Bentancur as an 8 or whether they play more of a 4-2-3-1 and James Madison is that number 10 and Bissouma and Bentancur are kind of playing as the double pivot, so to speak. Because I think Bentancur can actually have quite a lot of control from a little bit deeper. I'm not so sure that Bentancur is an 8 or a 10, but maybe Tottenham fans will disagree with me. Mason Mount to Manchester United. I really am confused by this one. I don't know where he's going to play because at the moment, the way they set up is Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, or they play Casemiro and one of Fred or McTominay and Bruno if Christian Eriksen is out. Now, Mason Mount can play in central midfield and he can play in attacking 8 and he can play wide. So maybe there's a position there that Man United see him fitted into or slotted into. I'm just not sure that I do. I don't think he's going to play ahead of Bruno in the 10. I don't think he's actually going to play alongside Casemiro too well, if I'm honest with you. So are they bought £65 million player as a squad player? Now, fair play if they have, because I actually thought Havertz was going to be that guy for us, but I don't think he will. I think he actually will play for me. I think he will play in the attacking 8. So at least to the question, who's the better signing? Let me know in the chat. Who would you rather have, right? Maddison for 40, Mount for 60, Havertz for 65. Who are we going with? Let me know. Because if I had to pick one right now, I'm taking James Maddison for £40 million because I know what I'm getting. He has been delivering. The other two have not. The other two have flopped in the last couple of seasons at Chelsea. Maybe it's harsh on Mount. Havertz definitely has. I think the last 18 months, Mount's gone down a little bit. But for me, it's definitely James Maddison. Now, a lot of people won't like to admit that because they'll say, well, he's at Tottenham. I don't want to pick Maddison. I'll have to say Havertz because he's with us. Forget all three of them have signed for us. Which one are you going for at the start of the season? I say James Maddison and everybody agreed with me at the start of the season. Now everyone wants Havertz because we've signed him and they think Arteta can turn him around. Maybe he can. Hope so. Be brilliant to see. But for me, I'm taking Maddison over the three of them, like for me, all day long. And it's mad for me to say that Havertz is the one I'd actually take last. I hope I'm proven wrong. I'm gonna reserve judgment for me until he plays for Arsenal and wears that shirt. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and try to explain how, he's going to be a flop and it's not going to work for us and the 65 million is going to be embarrassing and, Arteta is, going to really regret this one. We can't do that. Everybody did that with Ramsdale. Everybody did that with Ben White, with Erdegaard, with Tomiyasu. We've seen, haven't we already, that we have to allow them time. So I'm going to allow Kai Havertz time. I don't think he's going to need too long to adjust to the league because I think he gets how that is. The one thing I will say is I think our style of play at the moment is a lot more stable and there's a lot more understanding and telepathy at the moment for Havertz to be able to slot in and mould it a lot more. Havertz has had about 5 positions at Chelsea and 4 managers. Looks like he's going to have one manager here in a position. So maybe that's what he needs to start with. He's definitely got the confidence and belief. I think he's definitely got the backing from Mikel Arteta. He's definitely going to play a lot more games and game times in that position that I believe he's best in. So maybe we're going to start to see a system work with Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Martin Odegaard. Madison has got Bentancur and Basuma around him. It looks like Casemiro and Bruno are going to be with Mount. I still think our midfield trio is the best there for sure. But is it as strong as Xhaka and Partey? Is Rice and Havertz a downgrade on Xhaka and Partey? Well, we don't know what it's like yet. It could absolutely smash it. It could kill it. It could absolutely click. But at the moment, I would say that we still are lacking in midfield there. 100%. Let's take some of your questions. If you do want to throw some of your questions in before we do close, then please make sure that you do that. Make sure you put a queue at the start of it so I know what you're going to be asking. If you do put a super chat in, like Chaitanya has, big up Chaitanya, then obviously you'll get your question read first. Chaitanya says, big up, Dan. It seems like we have our major signings, and also I think we should keep Xhaka, Partey in both for crucial depth. What will be our lineup now? Well, listen, if we're getting rid of Xhaka and Partey, it's obvious what our lineup is. It's the same as last year. Rice will replace Partey and Havertz will replace Xhaka. I have serious concerns about Rice replacing Havertz replacing Xhaka because I don't know that he can do that role. I've not seen him do it. And I think Granit Xhaka was very underrated last season. And this is coming from me, a guy that I don't really rate the player as much. But actually, when you look at it, I do think that we need to let this try and play out. I just think that at the moment, the lineup is going to be really interesting to see. I don't think if we sign Timber that he comes in straight away. I do think it will be the same back line, and I think Timber will force his way into that side somehow by playing the inverted role at right back instead of Ben White, or he will come in for Saliba if he gets a knock. So I do think that'll be interesting to see. I think these are going to be very, very, very good signings, Timber and Rice. I really do. It's only the Havertz one for me that I'm looking at. So it's gonna be really interesting. I'm just trying to look at some of your questions. Let's get some of them going. Big up Chaitanya, by the way, always a real one, top man. Let's go to this one. So what's the starting 11 for Arsenal this season? I think it's Ramsdale. I think it's Ben White. I think it's Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. I do think it's going to be Rice, Havertz, and Odegaard, and I think it'll be Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus. Now, the only good thing that I will say about it, and we're going to sign some more players, I am sure, and I have fingers crossed that we don't stop it there. We're going to have at the moment, out of the 7 substitutions that actually the 9 substitutions that we'll be allowed to have on the bench, 5 of them that are usable. We're going to have Tomiyasu, Timber, Tierney, Smith Rowe, and Trossard straight away, right? If we keep Partey and Xhaka, one of those will also be benched as well. So that's 6. Now, I say after that is where it drops off. But there's 5 or 6 there that you think, actually, the drop-off ain't that bad. So defensively, we're sorted, as I mentioned earlier. But it looks to me as if there's going to be a few other positions. When you start to throw in Fabio Vieira, Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, you start to then think maybe it's not quite as good. Jorginho, Elneny's, etc. So that would be my starting 11. Clement, big up yourself, mate. Prime Henri says, why do so many people assume that Havertz will play 8? I assumed he would be a Jesus or Saka option. I think he's an option in there. I do think, though, however, from what Mikel Arteta is suggesting in terms of his press conference saying he's going to be vital to our midfield, I do think that he is going to play in the Granit Xhaka role. And let's hope he absolutely kills it there. But I think we spoke enough on that. Ali D has got 2 questions. He says, do you think this Chalmini link is legit or is it a load of BS? I really don't think this is going to happen, mate. I'll be amazed if Real Madrid want to let him go. He's the only holding midfielder that I see that will be reliable and available every week now that Modric, Kroos getting towards that age. Obviously, Camavinga and Bellingham have been signed, but I don't see them really taking his place in terms of his position. They're going to get in the side, I imagine. So I'd be very surprised if Chalmini was to leave Real Madrid, but this would be an amazing signing. It's going to cost about 90 million probably, but it would be an unbelievable signing if we were to go in and do a madness there, but I just do not see it. And Ali's also said that he would choose Madison by miles, doesn't rate the other two at all, and the fact that Chelsea got 125 million for them, we would have sold them for a combined 18 million. Yeah, we're not the best at selling players, are we, at times, mate? I must say, it is very, very true. Clement says, who will be the most improved Arsenal player in 2023 and 2024? I would say this season just gone, I would have given it to Granit Xhaka or Ben White. And because those two have now done that, I don't see those. I mean, Xhaka's probably going to go, but I'm not sure that I see those getting any better. I will go with. God, it's hard, isn't it? I'll go with Gabriel Jesus because I feel like the injury has made his season played it down a little bit. I'll go with that. I'm not too sure the others can do much to improve. So that's crazy. What a great thing to say. Great question, by the way, Clement. Love that one. Mark, big up yourself, says, Dan, you doubted Erdegaard and wanted Madison. Do you fancy a bet for charity? Erdegaard scores more and assists more than Madison this season. That's a friendly bet that I had with Tom Canton to say that I believe that Madison will have more goal and assist contributions than Havertz this season. And it's not because I want that, by the way, before people say that's why it's for charity, because it's a laugh bet and it's for a good cause. But he thinks Havertz will get more goal and assists than Madison. And I use the eye test and believe that Madison will get more, especially if surrounded. Tottenham can score goals. They cannot defend to save their life. But I think he'll add some goals for Tottenham, so I've gone for that. As for Erdegaard, I did want Madison over Erdegaard the year that we signed him. I thought that James Maddison was killing it, and to be fair, it was justifiable for me to think that at the time because Erdegaard wasn't. I think he got 4 goals and 7 assists this season. That Madison got 18 goals and 12 assists. So yeah, that wasn't the best season for Erdegaard, and I called him out. And you're right, Mark. I did. I called him out, and I said, I want you to start scoring goals. And boy, did he do that. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. And no, I don't want to do any more friendly bets because I'm going to run out of cash at this rate. Jake Hammond. Jake says, Dan, how many more players will Arsenal sign in this window after Havertz, Rice and Timber? This is a great shout because there's a lot of people saying that we might be done after this and we're spending so much money and we ain't going to have all this money. I think we're going to start to see some outgoings before we see any more incomings after we've signed Havertz, Rice and Timber. I think we're going to see another midfielder come in. I think we're going to see potentially another attacker, whether that's a striker or a winger. And I think maybe if Partey and Xhaka both go, we'll get 2 midfielders instead of 1 more. So I expect 3 more to come in after the 3 that have already come in. And I wanted 6 to start with. I said that we needed 6. I said we needed a right back or right centre back, 2 midfielders. I said a attacking midfielder and some form of centre forward that can either play wide right or across the front 3. And it looks like we've got the attacking midfielder, which is Havertz. We've got the defensive midfielder, which is Rice. We've got the defender, which is Timber. The only 3 that we don't have is another 2 midfielders and a centre forward now. So I expect they will be the options that we go with, if any at all. Here we go to Across the Pond Sports Talk says, do you think, Dan, we could be moving to a 3-4-3 instead? Now, I've seen a lot of these lineups that are suggesting that we're going to be playing 3 at the back, and I just don't see that. I don't see how Mikel Arteta is going to drop Zinchenko and our right back position and say that this is just not what we want to be doing anymore. I think it's pivotal to how he wants to play. I think we will be continuing with 4 at the back. It's not to say, though, bro, that we actually could go to 3 at the back during a game of some kind. Because Ben White can play there, Timber can play there, Saliba, Gabriel, all these guys now that can play, Tomiyasu can. It's an option for us, isn't it? It's an option for us. Richie Dubfella says, if Arteta got a tune from Xhaka when we all thought he was done, do you not think he'll do the same with Havertz? I absolutely love this question, and I'm praying that it's right, bro. I'm absolutely praying that he does, because he's got us the best out of some players, Arteta, right? He hasn't been able to do it with all of them. He really hasn't. Like, for me, there's not a player that I look at and go, like, well, Arteta's improved you. It's not happened with everybody. I think Saka, Martinelli, Erdegaard, Ben White, Granit Xhaka, they could all look at that, Gabriel, and say, yes, absolutely, he's improved them, but not always for me. Chaser says, Dan, what about Havertz into the target number 9 role? If he wants to be, he could be. However, I just don't feel personally like he uses his attributes well enough to be that hold-up striker. I don't see him hold up the ball well. I don't see him doing that. I just find it a little frustrating, if I'm honest with you. It bounces off of him. He don't really have that much strength or presence. So those are the things that Arteta needs to work on. Technically, he looks good. I think he's good in the air, from what people tell me, and I think that he could be a good player. There's no doubt that there's a talent there. You don't score 17 goals in a season if you're no good, right? So we might be able to get something from him. The interesting thing for me is that Mikel Arteta wants him, and he's going to be able to try and do something with him. So he's got a plan for him. I don't understand the notion of, well, if he wants him, then I want him, because actually we've got to see how it plays out, because he wanted Tavares and I don't want him now. And he wanted Vieira. I don't think he's good enough. And he wanted Eddie to stay, and I don't think he's good enough. So it ain't always what the manager says is perfect till it goes. He can get things wrong. He's a human. But actually, when you look at it, we need to be giving these players chances, because a lot of people wrote off Erdegaard, Ben White, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, and they've all managed to come in and do a job. I'll take one more of your questions. I did miss one up here somewhere. Where did I go? Here we go. Darthmore F2 Piers says, do you think we'll change formation to try to evolve as Man City have over the years? Now, it's very similar to why people are talking about it being a free at the back thing. I think we will be quite similar to Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, because that's what Arteta has learned and that's what he knows. And it wouldn't surprise me if we start to look at using a John Stones next season position. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to look at that kind of Christmas tree formation in games. I don't really want to see it if we don't have to do it, but it wouldn't surprise me with Mikel Arteta, because I think that's what he does. Like, personally, he seems to be wanting to go down that route. What I hope is that we don't do everything that he says. Like, Pep does it this way, that's the way to have to do it. There's nothing wrong copying him with some things because he just won a treble. But I don't want to be doing the same thing thinking that we can copy him with the players we've got, because actually some of the attributes of our players are very, very different. Now, when you look at what Manchester City have got in their squad, it's better than ours. When you have a look at what Manchester City have got in their first 11, I'm going to say I'd probably have 6 of their players and 5 of ours. I don't think there's that much difference. I really don't. Like, Edison is the better goalkeeper. I love Ramsdale, by the way, but he is the better goalkeeper, and he has been for the last 5-6 years. He's been pivotal to our Manchester City play. I picked Kyle Walker because I think he's one of the best. I think he's probably the best in a decade, if I'm honest. Ben White's been sensational, though. Left back Zinchenko is definitely there. The centre back situation is probably Ruben Diaz and Saliba. In midfield, it's definitely Rodri, KDB, and Erdegaard. And then I would say that I'd have Saka and Martinelli either side of Haaland. So it's quite close when you think about it. It's not like, wow, Man City, so we can't compete with that. Look at their side. If you did a combined 11, everyone will have a different opinion. That would be mine. So we've got, what, 5 or 6 players there against the 5 or 6 players. It could be very, very, out of the 11 players, one gets 5, one gets 6. We're kind of half and half. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you that our first 11 is not good enough, because it's proved that it has to be. Where I feel we fell short was our squad depth. And everybody started saying that we had a 8 or 9 out of 10 window. And I was giving it like a 6 or a 7, saying, how we're still short here. And then, of course, everyone says I'm moaning, but I had a right to be moaning, because we get to it and Rob Holding's back in the side, and Eddie Nketiah's up top again, and Reece Nelson's coming on. Fabio Vieira's playing again. We got to stop that this season. And that's what I want to be seeing now. I can't have any more excuses. Somebody said in the chat earlier when I was on stream with Lee, what happens to Mikel Arteta this season? Well, let's be real. At the moment, we need to know what is going on with the transfer window. I don't want to start talking about Arteta's future right now. It's the wrong time to be doing it. It's not fair on him. He's just put us in a title race, but he does need to win something. He does need to win something. Otherwise, the pressure will be on. Last question of the night. Big up, Mark. Hope you're well, my friend. Says, Eddie or Balogun or neither next season? My preference, Mark, would be to sell them both and get in a striker. Whether it be a Vlahovic, whether it be Ivan Toney, if we can get him in January, whether it be a mad one like Piers Morgan has said, Victor Osimhen. Some of those are unrealistic. But I would like to see it, because I do believe that if we have an option of getting a striker, we should go for it. For the pure fact that if Gabby Jesus gets an injury, we're back to Eddie, Trossard or Balogun up top, and we could be playing next season Real Madrid or PSG or in the FA Cup in the semi-finals against Liverpool at Anfield, and we're playing that. We've got to be really, really careful on what we do there. And I do think that a centre forward is needed. So that would be my preference, to sell them both. So let's see what happens. Guys, please do me a favor. We're going to wrap up, but please, I need you to do me this. I honestly need you to do me this so badly. I am literally about 200 away from 10K. So please, if you're watching this now on live, please smash the like button and please hit subscribe. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything. And I really want to get to 10K ASAP. And I've done so well to get this far. You've done so well to help me to get this far. I just want to hit it ASAP. And it's so close. So there's nearly 300 of you watching live. Please do me a favor and just hit the subscribe. Even, do you know what? Even if you don't ever come back again, it's your first time here and you think, what's this Essex boy talking about? What's he trying to talk about? He's a gooner. I don't care. All right. Please do me a favor and subscribe. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up and a like. That means the absolute world to me. And it does a lot for the channel and a lot for the video as well. So please make sure that you do that. If we can all do that now, I will see it go up and I'll be a very, very happy boy. Because I'm trying to get to 10K as quickly as possible. So please make sure that you just literally tap that. You don't have to smash it like people say. You don't have to start punching the keyboard. Just delicately press it, will be fine. And I would really appreciate that, guys. Listen, we're going to be back tomorrow night. I'm going to be talking all things football. I'm going to have Tobes on with me tomorrow, which will be good during the day, and then I'll do another show in the evenings. We've got to bring 2 shows to you tomorrow, so make sure you're there for that one. We're going to be discussing all things Tottenham and all things Arsenal, and this transfer window is starting to hot up, people, so we're going to be here every night providing content for you. So please do us a favor and smash a like on your way out, and please subscribe. That would be amazing. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, and as always, up the Arsenal. Take care, people.